Hello and welcome everybody. I'm Dakian. It's Monday the 26th of September 2016 and I'm going to show you what I finished painting this past week. Not a huge amount, and it's all these hassle-free minis. Starting with the very smallest ones, I finished the two homunculi. I think that's the proper plural term for it. Let's see if we can get a closer, more down view of them from the front. Paint them slightly different colors just to make them look a little bit different, but basically the same. They're very simply made. And these two ladies here, let's see if we can get a proper distance for focus, are simply, yeah, they, I tried not to go too complicated here, but they're because, you know, they're not that complicated sculpts. The faces turned out very different on these two. I'm not sure if it's the sculpts or if it's just the paint kind of got away from me, but this girl somehow got really big anime eyes and really intense red lips, and this one looks more natural. Not sure why, but I'm okay with it. It doesn't matter. Then we have the cultists here, which I tried to paint with sort of decided for a yellow and red scheme. So they have their robes, or kilt in this case, are kind of a dirty, kind of a mustard yellow, a brownish yellow, and their hood's a kind of purplish red, and this guy has a heart and blood running down his arm. The blood effects are always a bit random, hard to control the way I make them, but oh well. And here we have the one simply guarding the candle. Now try to make the candle a different type of yellowish color, you know, to be melted wax. And here we have somebody with a brazier of fire being held aloft. Turned out okay, I think. Anyway, that was the completed pile for this week. As for stuff that's in progress, I think pretty much finished the fur on this werewolf. It looks really messy because it's been dry brushed and so it's gotten all over the clothing. The next step is to, well, finish the clothing to make it look cleaner, and maybe, you know, the eyes and mouth, the claws, tidy it up a bit. It shouldn't take too long. And almost done with the Ghoul King. I've been working away at this guy, trying to, you know, get the right tone for his skin, the right kind of sickly pallor, just adding glazes. Still a few things to do. The witch and the flesh golem are still kind of in a holding pattern. The flesh golem, I've done some more work on the skin, but I'm not quite sure where I want him to go yet. But we'll get there eventually. And here we have some assembly in progress. I haven't actually finished putting all these together. I've started on the dryads, and I have 4 fully assembled apart from some basing grit needed to make it look like dirt, and 4 partially, and then I have a lot of sprues left. I should be able to put these 16 together by later today, hopefully. Now, looking closely at the instructions, there's 2 big kinds of models you can put together if you're playing Age of Sigmar. The basic dryads and some kind of leader figure called a branch nymph. Now what separates the branch nymphs is mainly they have these special arms, which look more like weapons. I mean, the normal ones have arms that end in kind of claws, while the branch nymph has these sword-like arms. And the rules included, say, you can have one of these per unit. A unit has to be at least 5. And there's enough parts in the kit so that I can make 4 out of the 16 into these branch nymphs, but I don't think I'm gonna do that because I've already assembled 2, and you can see the problem they have. If they have to have these special arms, there's not a lot of variety you can put in there. The left arm can have a few different angles, but the right arm really only fits one way. It's underneath the breasts like that. So I'm gonna stop here and just put other kinds of arms on the rest. However, I kind of get the impression that they want these more elaborate back branches with stuff on them to be reserved for the branch nymphs as well, but I'm not gonna care about that. I'm gonna use them as I see fit, and just do whatever looks cool. Then we have little bits and pieces like this. This is clearly scatter terrain. This is supposed to go on the base. Other parts are clearly supposed to sit in the branches. For example, this owl here is a separate piece. I have another one here, and that clearly wouldn't want to sit on the ground. Others are kind of, yeah, this one has to come up out of the ground as well. But others, like for example, where on these branches have to be on the ground. What was my other example? Oh, here it is. This little stuff here. This could go either way, either up in the branches or on the ground, I think. And similarly, well, maybe not. This ram's skull would look kind of weird resting in the branches of a tree, but it probably needs to be ground scatter. Oh, and by the way, this guy, I probably messed up and put 2 left arms on him, or her. But who cares? It's it's a twisted kind of tree creatures. You know, who knows what their anatomy is like. Anyway, work continues, and the pace I'm going and the amount of other stuff I have to do this week, I don't know if I'm going to finish many of them by next week, but there will be more accomplished in any case. So let's look at some numbers. And one more thing I want to point out about these guys is I have curbed my OCD about mold lines, because I kind of have to, because these guys are absolutely chock full of them. I scrape them a little bit, but honestly, they're all over the place. They're in hard to get places. They're in very fragile places like the fingers. And you have to think, to an observer looking at it from any sort of distance that's not zoomed in like this, will they be able to see what's a mold line and what's just tree bark texture? I think not. In most cases, you can't really tell. So I'm just going to do the bare minimum I feel is necessary. Just leave it at that. However, I am removing flashing. What's flashing? Well, let's see if we can find an example. Yes, here. This finger here. See, it has some sort of thin film of plastic sticking to the sides of it that really shouldn't be there. That I remove because, well, partially because it looks really bad, but also if I should paint over that and it flakes off later, which it very well might do, it's going to reveal bare plastic underneath, and that's double plus bad. So yeah, at least some minimum of work is getting done here. And again this week I'm combining the sort of what's next and new arrivals sections because they are the same thing. The next thing I'm going to paint up is some stuff that arrived from Mantic Games. And no, don't mean that I'm going to paint up these movement trays. These are just, well, movement trays, and this is some plastic. What I simply got a few loose sprues. This is the zombie sprue, from which you can make 3 zombies. And this is the basic skeleton soldier sprue, which makes 10 skeletons. Why did I get these? Well, I felt that my current units needed filling out the ranks. I needed a few more zombies to make a full horde, because hordes are bigger in 2nd edition. And I wanted to... I have a unit of 20 skeletons, but I want to split them up and make one, because I didn't know the rules when I built those skeletons, and so they're mixed between spears and other hand weapons, while in the 2nd edition rules, spearmen are their own type of unit. So I want to make 10 spears, combine them with the couple of guys with spears from my previous numbers, and then just fill out the ranks with the skeleton dogs and other odds and ends to make 2 units of 20. And also, I want to paint some undead because October is coming. I'm going to start painting these next week when October is here. And October is Spookytober, as Warboss Tay keeps telling us. I'm not going to do a special set of Spookytober videos this year the way I did last year. I don't have the time for it. I'm simply going to turn my normal videos into Spookytober videos. It's going to be all the new projects I'm starting in October are going to be spooky in some way in nature. So you can look forward to a lot of things rising from the grave. It's also going to be interesting to see if I can replicate, because the previous zombies and skeletons by Mantic I painted like a couple, at least 2 years ago, maybe 3 in some cases. So I do have notes about what paints I used and the recipes I used. So I'm going to have to go back and look at that and see if I can replicate it and, well, try not to improve on it too much. They should look a bit unified after all. Anyway, I hope to have these built at least by next week so I can start on them. Join me then for more updates. And, well, thank you for watching this one. You can click like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Leave a comment if you have comments to make. And again, I will see you next week. Until then, I'm Dakian, signing off.